Breaking news coming in at this point. Taliban's Sheikh Rahimullah Haqqani killed in a suicide attack. The attack happened while he was speaking in a madrassa in Kabul. The attacker had hidden explosives in one of his fake legs. Maha is joining us for more details. Maha, what can you tell us about the impact, about this attack and also the significance of Rahimullah being killed?
So Rahimullah Haqqani, even though he shares the Haqqani surname with the other Haqqanis, is not related to the Haqqani network. He was a cleric associated with the Taliban though, and he was very vocal in favor of education for girls. This was his seminary, an educational institution where he was when this blast took place, and the person who was hiding that explosive in apparently his artificial limb walked into the seminary, and then Rahimullah Haqqani was killed in that attack. There have been assassination bids against him previously as well, twice before. Once while I understand he was in Pakistan itself, but he had survived those two assassination bids. This one he couldn't. Officially it was announced late last night that he had died in that blast that took place. Rahimullah Haqqani, as I was pointing out, had been speaking in favor of education for girls in Afghanistan. He had been speaking opposing ISIS, and we are seeing that there is, as has been expressed by the US as well, that there is some sort of, the ISIS trying to target Afghanistan after the Taliban, especially after the Taliban took over. We've seen ISKP being very active in Afghanistan, carrying out attacks, some of them against the minorities as well, including the Sikhs, against whom, where one Gurudwara was attacked recently, was done by ISKP. So at the moment, we do not know who carried out this attack per se, but the possibility of the attack coming in from any of those ends cannot be ruled out, especially because Rahimullah Haqqani spoke against the ISIS.
Right. Maha, as we were just talking about who's taken responsibility for this attack, it's the Islamic State. What can you tell us about that and about the motive, as we were saying that he's been vocal for women's education? That's one of the reasons?
Yes, so ISIS in fact did claim responsibility, but officially nothing more has been said about it so far. But as I was saying, it is very obvious that because he was speaking against ISIS for so long, and the fact that ISIS is now in competition in some sense in Afghanistan against Taliban to create this kind of unrest within Afghanistan after all that they have gone through, especially when we have seen the US troops were withdrawing and the Taliban were taking over, how that was carried out. And under those circumstances, the ISIS, ISKP, they were also looking at creating unrest in Afghanistan at the same time. If you remember, there was an attack around the Kabul airport as well. This was at the time when the US troops were still moving out of Afghanistan, and there was a lot of chaos as it is in Kabul and other places. Even at that time, the attack that was carried out was claimed to be by ISKP. Now, Rahimullah Haqqani had been very vocal against the ISIS especially, and therefore the fact that ISIS is claiming responsibility for killing this senior pro-Taliban cleric doesn't come as a surprise. Moreover, he had been speaking, as you were asking me, in favor of women's education, but we know that the Taliban have not allowed women to start their education. It's been over 300 days, almost a year has gone by, more than a year, where senior secondary school students, girls, have not been able to go back. There is a campaign, globally a campaign, that these girls should be allowed education. That's the bare minimum that the Taliban should allow. There were fears that the Taliban, like the previous regime in Afghanistan, would not allow for girls' education, and that fears came true. Even though the Taliban has been claiming that they will look at making it possible for girls to be educated, but so far it has not happened. So he was one of those lone voices within the Taliban setup who spoke in favor of girls' education. However, despite that, it hasn't become a reality for over a year now for many of the girls.
Right. Thanks very much, Maha, for joining us with those details. So that Taliban cleric who spoke for women's education has been killed in a suicide attack.